What's up everyone? Today, yeah, you guessed it, I'm going to work on the main street yet again. Yeah, this is still going to go on for quite a bit, and I do need to apologize about this video. At least that's what I feel like, because this is really one of those instances, which is something that I talked about when I just started this new park, is the fact that for this new park, I kind of want to focus on getting the park right, and you probably know that most of this is actually live streamed, and I do mess around with things, even though most of the times when I try new things, I always want to open a new park file and mess around with certain things that I can do so that the time-lapse doesn't end up being an experimentation fest. With this building, there were just a couple of things that I had to redo, and I had to take quite a while to actually get them right, so it didn't result in the best time-lapse ever, but I think I do kind of like the building in the end, so that's pretty good. I guess you'll see that in the end. One thing is, though, whenever I just let my perfectionistic tendencies go loose, it just happens sometimes that you get these time lapses in which I place things and then remove them, as just happened with the arches and stuff. But basically what I'm building today is, it is a bit of a more standard American Main Street building. I figured I could do this just to get that type of theme into this Main Street. And the one thing that I'm not so sure about actually is whether I want to keep the main street exactly like this, because okay, basically for each episode that I'm releasing, I'm becoming more certain about the themes that I want to do in this park, which is actually a very handy thing, because as long as it takes to get this main street done, it is really best to just prepare yourself mentally, not in the sense that you're mentally prepared, but in a sense that you know what kinds of things you want to build in the park before you actually go build them, and having the time to think about that while building the main street, having the time to communicate with loads of people about the themes that I might want to try and the sets that I can use for that is really handy. And at this point I think I have a pretty clear idea of what I want to do. It's basically a Eurasian theme throughout the park, where you travel through loads of countries, and I actually kind of want to keep it geographically correct in a sense. So the like the southern parts towards the east is going to be Spain and Italy, countries like that. The northern part will have the northern European countries, and then the eastern part of the park will also have the Asian themes. But one thing that I am somewhat worried about, it's not really a problem I guess, is the fact that this main street is really just European. It has loads of mixtures from loads of different European countries, but then again, it's all just European. It doesn't have any Asian buildings in it, or Indian, stuff like that. It's kind of what I'm missing from this main street. Now, I think it is also a good thing, because if I would have put all those different things into one main street, it might have looked like a bit of a mess. But then again, I don't know if it's really too good to have just one theme throughout the main street, even if it's just a mix of many different themes. But in any case, I'm going to plan to keep it like this. What I might actually do is, when I have that main square in the middle, is that I add buildings of each respectable theme that I want to have in each section of the park. Be like some building on the main square, so you can actually see where you're going with the themes, and you can actually see all the themes together in one place. I think that might actually be a cool idea, though it would be kind of hard to incorporate that, and I was thinking of gardens first, kind of like Disney does it, but that's just some small things that I'm not too certain about. Now, when it comes to the rides, I am becoming more and more certain about what kind of rides I want to have. I definitely want to have a B&M dive machine. I know that for the longest time I was kind of undecided whether it would be a B&M dive machine or a B&M invert, but after seeing Baron 1898 and other dive machines, I just feel like I really need something like that in my park. I also want to have some dark ride, that is definitely confirmed. Actually, I just watched Mystic Machine by FFRCT and Toto di Toto. I think that's his name, I always pronounce it wrong. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but I just suck at pronouncing stuff. And loads of other people I think also, but that is just an amazing dark ride. I might actually put that in the description. I'm pretty much sure that I'm going to forget that, so if I forgot that and you want to see it, then just leave a comment, because yeah, I'm an idiot and I always forget about stuff, but I still have the link somewhere saved in my RCT3 favorites folder, so and that should be all good. In any case, I should probably talk about this building. As you just saw, I removed the spire, which is just one of those other instances of my perfectionistic tendencies, where I felt like it didn't really work as well as I wanted it to. I tried to go for a bell tower spire, but really it doesn't work too well. It does take away a bit of the Europeanness to take away that spire and get a standard Main Street spire, because now I really feel like this building is a bit American-ish, but still it has those European touches to it anyway. It's just a classical building in general, neoclassical rather. Probably it's even more modern, although it's not post-classical. Shouldn't talk about that. In any case, it's the type of standard Main Street building, but in a way that I really like, because this is the type of Main Street building where you can just add many pillars and all kinds of decorations from the Main Street sets. And it's not a hard building to build, you don't really take too many risks, it's always the same type of layout, and it's just fun to build because you can mess with all the different details. So if you're building a Main Street, a building like this, which is just pretty wide, has the same details throughout the building, but where you do mess with loads of different details, is always fun to build, but it always works pretty well too, I think. Though, at first I wasn't too sure how well this would work in this particular park, but I think it works alright. This building on the side is just a bit of a random building next to it because I needed something over here. So this is a bit of a not too very much special building, which kind of just has the standard Main Street stuff going on. I guess I could call it, actually I don't know really what I could call it. It's one of those generic, could be placed in any city in Europe probably, kind of building. Unlike the building on the other side, on the left side of this building, I am going to, at least in a little bit of time, going to build another building, and that's going to be one of the first places where I actually use my own custom scenery for this park, which is definitely something that I want to try, and I've talked about this before, but it didn't really happen in any of the episodes in which I talked about it. But yeah, in this episode, I am going to use some custom scenery, just some very simple custom scenery, but I should probably talk about that whenever I get to that stuff. I don't know, it's just something that I felt like I could talk about. Probably doing some stupid stuff over here, but this building just felt like a bit of a generic building to really talk about too much. It's kind of a standard Main Street building, aside from the fact that, of course, it is using those cornerstones, which are from the Alpine set, which is something that I can really recommend. Mixing various Shy Guys sets almost always works, because they just have pieces that go well together in general. And especially with those cornerstones, it feels to me like adding those cornerstones to Main Street buildings rather than adding the pillars that they come with almost adds like a bit of Europeanness to the building. The only thing that I am really missing, and that is something that I definitely do want to make some custom scenery for, is the paintings on the walls. You might not be familiar with this, but what many European countries do, especially in places like Austria, they are too poor to actually get proper decorations for their buildings, so instead they just paint on very fancy stuff. And that set is actually meant for Spanish buildings, and many people use it for their roof tiles, whatever kind of theme they're going for. But the only issue with that is if you want to have some kind of rustic texture, which is what I am going for with this park, is that it's very bright, and if you do make that roof red, if you want to have some red roofs, then you end up with the in-game RCT3 red, which is more red than I would have liked it to be. And this Pets Efteling set roofs is just a generic-ish brown red color shade. I don't know how to put it, but it's more washed out, and as you can see, also when you compare it to the Shy Guys Alpine Village roofs, you definitely see that it's a bit more realistic when it comes to the red tile roofs, because red tile roofs, as red as they aren't really completely red. There is a bit of brown in there, and it is not as bright as you'd imagine them to be. So even in a theme park, I would like my colors to be a bit rustic, so that's why I'm going for that. Now this building over here, I haven't even talked about this yet. This is just a bit of a mirror image of the building on the other side, except it has a bigger tower, which also took a bit of messing around with it to get right, because I was a bit worried about the spire, but eventually with towers on the side, it works pretty well. But this building is honestly just a bit of a side building. It doesn't really serve any function whatsoever. It is not there to look great or anything, it's just there to fill up the space. And it was really hard to get a really good looking building in this space anyway, because as you may know, the entrance building is also a train station, and even though I haven't added the train itself yet, I do need to keep some space reserved for that train. And as the train station is also quite narrow, to just look quite imposing but actually not be too big of a building, there's not much space to work with over here to actually place a building. Plus I need some trees on the other side so that you don't see this building from the entrance. So I'm going to need a lot of things on a very small space near the entrance over here, so really no room for a big building other than just a very small alpine building, which kind of fits the theme of the entrance building as well, considering the castle walls underneath it and the alpine roofs, and just in general the stucco stuff over there that's going on. But yeah, it's a bit of a medieval-ish building. I guess it works pretty well with the entrance building, so I'm pretty happy about this. In any case, that's it for this episode, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next episode, in which I'll, yeah, you guessed it, work a tiny bit more in the Mainstreet. So, bye.